If your friends suck sometimes, or if you suck at friendship, stay until the end and you'll leave knowing exactly how to bring more belonging into your life.
All kinds of studies have been going on about like what makes for a healthy relationship. And there's three things that every single study has in common. Those are non-negotiables. They show up in every single definition of a healthy relationship. Three things that we can judge the health of a relationship by. It helps us evaluate the health of a relationship. Like, why do I feel like this friendship just isn't feeling so great? Why is it feeling lousy? And helps us basically know how to repair the relationship if we want to.
Friendship isn't really so different from romantic relationships. It's super important for our mental and even physical health, and it's central to how humans function. And yet, while we have tons of movies and books and even couple therapy to learn how to be good romantic partners, nobody teaches us how to be good friends and how to nurture fulfilling platonic relationships. But that's not really true. A few people have made it their mission to do just that. And today I'm talking to my favorite one, Shasta Nelson. She's a friendship expert, author, and keynote speaker who helps people build healthier, more meaningful relationships at work and in life. And she's going to enlighten us today. Okay, let's dive in. But first, let me give some important information about the show for new listeners. Feel free to skip about a minute if you've heard it before. Do you ever feel like every important conversation turns into just another petty debate and that we deserve better? Well, welcome to Make Sense, the show where I, singer-songwriter Leïla Six, interview people with super relevant and important insight to put our ideologies aside and make the most efficient decisions to build societies that actually make sense based on our shared values. I believe these are freedom and safety, which for humans comes from community. And by the way, whether you look at it scientifically or spiritually, community includes the entire planet. But these values can sometimes be a bit conflicting, which is tricky. So how can we shape a world that's both safe and exciting for everyone and on the largest scale possible? Well, that's a tough question and an ambitious goal, and it would be easy to get cynical about it and just say, well, the world's unfair, so I'll fight for my share and F the rest. But I don't want to do that, and I'm sure you don't either. So we need to understand topics that are fundamental to how the world works, complex topics that require our attention if we want to stay true to our values. Now, I tell all of my guests that I only want to have constructive, snark-free conversations here because I want everyone to feel welcome to learn, feel, and grow. So I'll ask the same of you in the comment section. Now, all that's been said, let's use our senses to make sense of the world and create more sensible societies. I know, it's too much wordplay, but I had to. Let my breath brush your ears. Inhale these words. May they fill your lungs and the atmosphere. We're going to go through the life cycle of a friendship from start to finish. So first of all, why do we even need healthy friendships and relationships in general? How or why is it so much better than being a hermit?
I love that. Well, you can be a hermit and still have really great friendships and relationships too. And we need all of those. So, yeah, I mean, I could do a whole hour on this one question alone, but just in a nutshell, I mean, there is just nothing else that like is showing up to be as big of a factor for our physical health, for our mental health, for our longevity, for our brain health, for our success in life, for our job satisfaction, I mean, just across all metrics, how connected we feel determines our success in almost all of those areas, which is so fascinating to me. I mean, just if you just take the physical health perspective for a moment, if we feel disconnected, it's more harmful to our health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's twice as bad as being obese. It does more damage on our body than being a lifelong alcoholic. It's worse than like a bad diet. It's worse than not exercising. So yeah, when we think about our physical health, we often so much focus on things that are important for sure. But when it comes down to it, there's like one study that shows we're actually better off having what we would call unhealthy lifestyle habits and feeling connected. We end up faring better down the road than if we like are doing all the right things and the kale smoothies and the treadmills and like the creatine, and yet we feel disconnected. It like can't make up the difference in our bodies, that stress for us not feeling supported. So yeah, I mean, when we think about living life well and thriving, it's virtually impossible to live our happiest, healthiest life without friends.
Okay, I'm convinced friends are super important. And I think most people have experienced the desire to make new friends as adults, but it just seems so much more difficult than when we were basically all stuck in the same school as kids. And Shasta doesn't pretend making new friends is easy. She actually teaches how to draw inspiration or courage from our physical health. So she talks about 3 things here. First, our social needs. Just like thirst is your body asking you to hydrate, loneliness is your body asking you to connect with people. Then our social pain. Feeling rejected by someone you reach out to and who doesn't reciprocate, or, when a group of people you like make plans without you. That's social pain. And that pain is real. Turns out it lights up the same part of our brain as physical pain. It's an important thing to understand so we don't minimize the fact that it actually really hurts. And then there's social sweat. Let's hear Shasta talk about that.
We often know that when we want to get in greater physical health, we go into the gym and we expect to sweat. We understand that exerting extra energy increases our capacity. We understand that lifting weights or doing a yoga class actually strengthens us, even though, ironically, like when we're lifting weights, we're purposely tearing our muscle, which is crazy when you think about it. Like we're choosing to willingly injure ourselves because we know that if we just do a minor injury, it actually helps build back a stronger muscle. So what we're doing to our bodies is kind of pushing our capacity, knowing that that turns into greater physical strength. The same is true for our social health. And yet, unfortunately, so often when we start to socially sweat, when we feel our heart rate going up, when we feel ourselves being worried about, well, I invited last time, and what if they don't like me as much as I like them? And I don't know if I have the energy to go out and do this thing tonight. And when we feel ourselves kind of at our social capacity in that sense, we so often just want to stay comfortable. We just want to go back to what's familiar. We're more willing to kind of just stay in inertia, if you will, and just stay on our couch rather than go out and do the social thing that actually leads to social health. So, yes, I'm always saying, like, if we can understand that you can't wait for friendship to be easy and simple and comfortable and familiar, because when you're making new relationships, it's never going to feel those things. So the important thing is to see it a little bit like our physical health and say, I will never feel connected, have deep, intimate relationships until I go through some of that social exertion. So, yes, so important. And I want to jump back to what you were saying about why it felt so much easier when we were kids. When we look at our lives, the top 3 ways that we make friends have to do with when we were younger. So it's our childhood friends, it's our school friends, it's our college friends. And what all of those things had in common was consistency. We saw the same people over and over and over in our neighborhood, in our school. We didn't have to invite each other, schedule it, plan it. We just had to like show up and be at school, and we didn't really have any other choice. And so we had a
We
lot of
didn't have to sweat.
consistency. Exactly. That part was somewhat automatic. And that's what makes friendship, I think, harder as an adult is trying to figure out where that consistency can be. So let me just say, I feel like I'm kind of just getting off on a soapbox here, but let me just say, there's really 2 ways that we can create consistency in our lives as adults. One is to look around and identify where you're already consistent. So work is the 4th way we make friends as adults. So that as once we're out of college, work becomes the number 1 way that we make friends as adults because of that consistency. Some of us might be a part of religious organizations or book clubs or neighborhood gatherings, but like where are we already consistent that we can start identifying and like looking at those places and saying, let me look at that with a lens of friendship. Now, let me actually show up and be intentional and start looking for friends in those places and start fostering friends in those places, because that will always be easier than the second alternative, which is how do I create that consistency in my own life? And so that one is like most of us have met more than enough people that we will ever need in our lives. Like most of us, it's not for lack of meeting people, it's for lack of having enough consistency with the people we've met, where those never actually can turn into the friendships they could have been if we had had some kind of rhythm or momentum or regular schedule together.
Hmm. And speaking about work friends, you're a big advocate of
I
friendship at
am.
work. But isn't it also a bit tricky? Like, can these truly be open and transparent friendships with the competitiveness and all? Like, I don't know. I wonder.
Yes, yes, yes. So the research would say yes, yes, and yes. The better and healthier our friendships are, they actually benefit us. They benefit us feeling like more engaged in our jobs, more happy in our jobs, more likely to want to be there and to feel purposeful there. Our days go better, our activities feel more meaningful. So it benefits us to have friends at work. And the good news is the research is very conclusive that it benefits our employers for us to have friends at work as well. And so we end up staying at our companies longer. We are more engaged. We treat customers better. Like every metric they care about, they would want us to have friends at work. Yeah, does it get a little messier? For sure. Most meaningful things in life do. I mean, it'd be easy to just keep a whole bunch of shallow surface friendships in our lives because those are less messy. But the truth of the matter is, when we are lonely, it's often not because we just want to know more people, it's because we want to feel more known. I often say it's like not for lack of interaction that most of us are lonely today, it's for lack of intimacy that we're lonely. And when we want to deepen a friendship, there will be more moments of disappointment. There will be more moments of what we call messy. There's going to be more moments where we worry about being judged or where we feel a little bit of disappointment and a hope or expectation we had. And so I think I would shift the frame a little bit and say the goal isn't to avoid messy. The goal is to get to intimacy and depth and closeness and healthy. And sometimes, quote, a hard conversation or messy is the way there. And the deeper our friendship, the more we should be showing up for those kinds of conversations and having those. So I would give a lot of, like, when we talk about workplace friends, there's certainly things we can do to be healthier and making sure that we protect that friendship and also protect our roles at work. There's good conversations for us to be having there. I would kind of equate it to like an analogy I often use is like for parents, for a couple, if they decide to have kids, does that make their marriage messier or harder? Yes, like without doubt. And yet we wouldn't say don't have kids because it makes marriage hard. We would say have kids, but like show up and be very clear that now you have two roles. One is keeping your romantic relationship healthy, and one is showing up as parents. And both will require different things. And the healthiest people are the ones who like understand those two roles. So similar, that analogy helps us at friends at work. Like let's show up and recognize that we are friends and we work together. So we have two different roles, and there's times where we have to put one hat on or the other hat on. But it actually can make both things can feed each other and make both relationships healthier and stronger.
Okay, that was a convincing answer.
Yay!
Shasta also has some tips on how to make new friends outside of work on her YouTube channel. In case you're curious, my personal advice to you would be to use the Bumble for Friends app. I used it a lot when I moved to a new city where I didn't know anyone, and it made a huge difference for me. Bumble is not sponsoring this episode, although I did try to contact them. So Bumble, if you're listening and interested, let's talk. Okay, let's move through the life cycle of the friendship. So now you have a friend. But we all know there are good friendships and lousy ones, basically. And you came up with a framework to help people make sure that they are in good friendships and that they are themselves good friends, the frientimacy triangle. So can you explain it to us a little bit?
Yeah, so when we look at all the social studies that have been done on what makes healthy relationships, whether it's marriage, whether it's why you feel closer to one friend than another friend, what builds trust, what makes for healthy teams, all kinds of studies have been going on about like what makes for a healthy relationship. And there's three things that every single study has in common. Those are non-negotiables. They show up in every single definition of a healthy relationship. So every single other thing that we want in a relationship is either a synonym of these three words or an outcome of these three words or an example of these three words. But what's helpful is when we kind of pare it down to like recognize there's three things that we can judge the health of a relationship by. It helps us, to your point, know how to start relationships because we know which three levers we need in place to start a relationship. It helps us know how to deepen any relationship because we can look and see which of those levers is weakest or lagging behind, and we can kind of help be more intentional and move it. It helps us evaluate the health of a relationship. Like, why do I feel like this friendship just isn't feeling so great? Why is it feeling lousy? And helps us basically know how to repair the relationship if we want to, and eventually helps us acknowledge what might be true. And that is, I have kept trying to do what I can do to strengthen this relationship and it's not strengthening. So therefore, I will adjust my expectations and stop pretending this is a healthy, good friendship, and set appropriate boundaries and stop investing.
Before we get to what these three essential things are, let's hear Glad, a love song to friends, because we could do with more of those. This is just a snippet, but stay until the end of the episode if you want to hear the rest of the song, or just look it up on any music platform for better sound quality. 'Cause the youth is what I'm made of and is made of me. And we are the next big star that others may see. So I will return to dust, dust when living do. But I'm glad I get to live with you. Yeah, I will return to dust, dust when living do.
So those three things are consistency, which we named earlier. That's the pattern, that's the familiarity, that's the ongoing shared experiences, it's our interactions, it's our time together, it's our history, it's basically hours logged. So that's like how we spend time together. The second category is positivity. By positivity, I do not mean that we always have to be cheerful and positive. On the contrary, that's toxic positivity. What I do mean by positivity is that we need to feel accepted. We need to feel pleasure. We need to feel reward. We need to feel like there's more good and enjoyable than there is negative in those relationships. And so positivity includes things like enjoying each other and having fun together and laughing. It also includes empathy and validation and acceptance and stating that I love you and showing up with acts of service or gift giving. So it's all the things that kind of are the fun, the joy, the I feel loved, I don't feel judged part of friendship. The research shows that we want to try to aim to have 5 pleasant emotions for every negative emotion in our relationships, which helps remind us that there are going to be negative, unpleasant emotions. We are going to annoy each other. We are going to disappoint each other. We are going to have moments for sure. And that doesn't mean it's a bad friendship. But the bigger question is, are we doing enough to keep that reward high? Do we still have fun together? Do we still laugh? Do I feel like she loves me? Is she cheering for me? And so if that ratio is in the right order, then those negative emotions don't kind of override the relationship. And then the third requirement of all healthy relationships is vulnerability. Vulnerability is how we start feeling like we know each other. It's where we share our stories, where we start learning what each other's opinions are, where we start feeling like we're kind of collecting data, if you will, on each other. And so where we start feeling like you know the best of me, the worst of me, you love me anyway. But this is where we eventually start kind of really being able to show up without a filter. But in our newer relationships, it's not about just being vulnerable and like just being like, okay, here's everything. Vulnerability should be incrementally built up as our consistency is built up. So as we have a little bit of consistency, so too should we have a little bit of vulnerability. When we're vulnerable, it should feel good. We should feel rewarded for that. We should feel like the other person appreciated us sharing them and holds that sacredly and loves us or accepts us or doesn't judge us. And then that makes us want to be more consistent with them. So we spend more time with them. And as we spend more time with them, we hopefully get to know each other even better, which is more revealing and vulnerability. And then it should feel good and we should feel closer. And then we want to do it some more. And those three things, as we just keep practicing those three things over and over and over, end up building our relationships.
The frientimacy triangle is great to assess a friendship, to become a better friend, or to understand what it is in that friendship that's making you feel bad, and to figure out whether you should try to make it work or let it go. Nowadays, a lot of people would tell you to embody that main character energy and to just let that friend go and to write them off because you're better off without them. But I'm gonna make a case for fighting for friendships and try to repair them, instead of just breaking up or quietly moving away from them, even when something feels off or toxic. Because a lot of things can get better with constructive communication. You can use the frientimacy triangle to do a kind of diagnosis of your friendship. And if you see that one or several of these three essential things are missing, then you can work on that. It can also just show that your friendship is not as close or intimate as you thought, and that can be okay too. Now, Shasta actually wanted to know how I've been using her triangle in my life.
So tell me, I'm going to turn the tables and interview you
Okay.
for a second because you're familiar with the triangle, but
Yeah, I am.
tell me like how that's played out in your relationships or how it's been helpful to you.
Well, when I found out about the triangle, I did just that, like evaluated all of my friendships. I remember I put pen to paper and actually like wrote
Yeah, good
down for
job. Gold
each one of
stars.
them. And I realized all of them were lacking something, and I tried to express yeah, what I needed, and which was super awkward. And it was very helpful because some of them turned out to be really strengthened by this process, and some of them just revealed themselves to be shallow and pretty much empty. And because I had done that process, I wasn't sad about it. I like when I realized that it was the end, I didn't feel like I was losing anything because I had realized that there was actually not much to lose there.
Wow.
So it was absolutely super helpful for me. I recommended it to everyone that ever mentioned, even remotely, the discomfort in a relationship. So yeah,
I love that. That's
he
what
helped me a
people should
lot.
be doing regularly for all of us. I have another question for you. Did you
Mhm.
find when you did that evaluation that there one of the three was like the most common one lagging behind, or did you find that every relationship had a different one lagging behind?
Yeah, different one
Hmm.
or all of them. Like, yeah, for a lot of them, I was lacking consistency. Hence, I was lacking vulnerability. It's a mix of the three, I think.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
good. Well, and I can give you a link to the frientimacy quiz that you can put in your show notes and share with your listeners,
Yes.
where you can take the assessment and get a score in all three of those areas, which is helpful because that's about measuring how we are showing up in our friendships. And probably all have one of those three that comes easier than others to us. But I love what you're talking about doing, and that is to really get clear, like when a certain relationship's not feeling super great, we can kind of pause and ask ourselves like, okay, so when I do talk to this person, I just feel like we're really, resonating and I love it and I get off the phone feeling so great. And we can kind of look and say, okay, vulnerability is there and positivity is there, meaning we can be honest and show up and feel comfortable and it feels good. We feel validated, we feel witnessed, we feel heard. But I only talk to her twice a year. So if I really wanted to have that relationship be more supportive, more like intimate, more in my life, I would need to increase the consistency. And for some of us, though, it's more of like we have a lot of relationships in our lives that might have consistency and positivity. People who we see on a semi-regular basis and we have a good time. We get together at book clubs or moms groups or, just kind of seeing each other quickly at the gym or, like all kinds of places in our life, work and stuff like that, where we like are running into each other and we're enjoying each other and we like each other, but we really don't have the vulnerability. We're not going deeper. And so it was kind of called more social life rather than like close relationships. So it gives us an invitation to like deepen that vulnerability. And then so many of our relationships where we can have consistency, like we've known them a long time. We have a lot of history together and we have high vulnerability. We know all the things, but it's become draining. It's become more of an obligation. It's become more of like there's more chores in the relationship than there are rewards, and we find ourselves kind of not looking forward to like blocking off time to be together or picking up the phone. And so we can start looking and saying, okay, is this a relationship that I've invested so much in that I want to try to be intentional to see if I can change the way we're showing up, with that positivity. When positivity is feeling low in a relationship, we have an opportunity to ask ourselves, so if that ratio is 5 to 1, and let's just say in this relationship, it feels reverse, it feels like, 5 to 4 or 5 to 5 or, whatever, it's like feeling like it's a lot more negative up there. We have a choice to say, okay, are there negative things happening over and over and over that I can actually reduce by having an honest conversation or by saying I'm sorry or by like doing the forgiveness work or by setting a boundary or by naming what I need better? Like, are there ways that I can help bring that negative down? And or are there ways that we can increase that positive? Like maybe we need to shift it up and go out and do something fun together. We've gotten in a bad rut of just complaining. Maybe we need to like say, like name that and say, I love, love, love that we can show up and just vent to each other. And I always want us to be able to do that. And I notice that sometimes we get stuck just doing that. And I get off the phone and I haven't asked you about all the things going well in your life yet, And so like I also want to make sure that we're showing up and celebrating with each other. And like, can we shift that DNA of that relationship a little bit to show up in that way? And so it gives us a lot of power. Like we don't just have to look at relationships and say, bad relationship, we can remind ourselves that most people we're friends with don't know how to be good friends. They haven't had it modeled, they haven't had it taught, they haven't read a book on it. They're showing up and just kind of bumbling along as we have done ourselves at times. And now we're the ones that have intention and desire and recognize how important it is. So, like, what can we do on our end to try to like get our needs met by shifting one of those three levers and improving that friendship? So, yeah, it's hopefully empowering.
Yeah, it is. And ooh, there's thunder. I don't know if you can hear it.
Ooh, I love thunder.
I'm scared of it, but anyway. That actually brings me to the next question I wanted to ask you, and you started answering actually. So your YouTube channel is full of short and sweet videos packed with tips, like the one you just gave us on how to strengthen different aspects. And I will definitely put the link in the show notes because people have to go through those videos. But can you maybe just give us one for each aspect of the triangle, like an easy one or something that doesn't feel mortifying?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. We'll do an easy one. So, like positivity, an easy one is just asking myself, like, how do I want this person to feel when they get done talking to me, or when we're done with lunch together, or after we've done that thing we do together? And just think, like, I want them to feel loved. I want them to feel happy. I want them to feel inspired. And just ask yourself, like, what is one thing I'm doing intentionally to help increase the odds of them feeling that way? We have a lot of opportunity to show up and be more intentional. The easiest thing we can do in that positivity one is just like, how am I ending those conversations? Am I ending by telling somebody, like, I am so glad we made time for lunch today. Thank you so much. I loved our conversation. I can't wait to do it again. Can we leave them feeling no doubt that we loved them? If they walk away feeling kind of like, I don't know if she was into that, or, they just, it's not positivity, right? That's them feeling questionable and not sure. So anything we can do that just says to our friends, I like you, thank you. Like, the more we can express that, so much power. Such a little easy thing to do that end in a way that our friends can't wait to come back and get more of us. Is so important. Consistency, I would just say write down on a post-it note like 3 to 5 people in your life that you want to be closer to, 3 to 5 people in your life that you're willing to prioritize, 3 to 5 people in your life that you're just going to be paying more attention to, saying yes to moments, to reaching out to them, to just kind of prioritize them. I think so many of us, we just have too many people that we're just kind of trying to stay in touch with, a whole bunch of people, and we're out there just kind of giving a little bit everywhere, and we aren't doing what we can to really say, I want to move a couple people deeper. And so, what can I do to prioritize and say yes to those people a little bit more? We could go deeper and deeper. There's so many tips there, but I think just even naming the people that we're willing to prioritize is a really important place to start. Um, and then vulnerability. The one that comes to my mind is being asking yourself this question. Am I somebody who tends to be like, how would I rate myself when it comes to vulnerability? Am I somebody who vulnerability and revealing is easy? In which case, like, well, let me say, like, some of us have a really easy time being vulnerable. We're an open book. We're just going to like show up, and we walk away feeling seen. And the question in those situations is, am I also giving as much quiet time and asking of questions and curiosity and interest to the other person that they are walking away feeling seen? Because it's not enough if I walk away feeling like, oh, I told them everything and I feel seen. If our friends are walking away not feeling like they had equal airtime, then they won't feel as known to us, and that's not a mutual vulnerable relationship. So for some of us, we need to practice listening more. We need to practice like being quiet and being okay with some silence and letting the other person open up. And for some of us, the opposite is true. We actually are the listener. We are the one who people come to us for advice. We are the one who's used to not interrupting conversations to share. And we need to learn how to practice revealing a little bit more. We need to practice incrementally and safely sharing a little bit more. We need to like start letting ourselves be seen and having opinions and telling a story and offering up stuff about us. And so all of us, I think just naming for ourselves, having the self-awareness of like, if I know that a healthy friendship depends on both people feeling seen, then how, like, where do I need to grow to make sure that both of us are feeling seen? Is it in doing more to see others, or is it in doing more to make myself seen? And kind of just checking in where we are on that spectrum. And I think just naming that for ourselves will help us show up a little differently.
These are easy, namely because they are for when the lack is coming from you, and so you have the agency to do
Mm-hmm.
better. But it becomes much harder, I think, when
Mm-hmm.
you identify the lack is coming from the other person, because that
Mm-hmm.
automatically requires, it might require, but I think it's almost all the time requires having hard conversations, very awkward conversations. So that requires giving more importance to making things better for the two of us and less importance to the visceral need we have to avoid awkward conversations. Because, like you said in one of your videos, I wrote this down, vulnerability isn't just the secrets we tell each other, it's also the capacity to tell the other person you're feeling let down by them. Maybe you need more from them, or even hearing them tell you that you let them down. But it seems to me that it only works if we learn to communicate without attacking the other person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's
So,
so true.
do you have any tips on how to communicate awkward things in a constructive way? If you want pro tips for when things get really messy, then check out part 2 of this episode. You'll get more juicy stuff and a movie recommendation. Here's a snippet.
We make up a story in our head about I'm always the one who reaches out and does all the things for the friendship. I'm always the one that starts giving, and I'm the one who gives all. And we kind of create this story that gets bigger and bigger and bigger in our heads. And we get more and more and more resentful of the other person who we don't view as giving. And we kind of start getting confirmation bias because we only see all the things we're doing. And so we kind of get more and more. And then finally we go, you know what? I don't need this in my life. And we just want to like end the relationship. But we never actually had a conversation to try to repair it or to try to point that out. But by now we don't care and we don't want to, and we're just mad and we don't want to fix it.
In the meantime, you can get some extra information and listen to the song you heard today at the end of this episode. I hope you got some valuable insights from this episode, and if you want to learn more from my guests, you'll find everything you need in the show notes. I, for one, thank you for your attention. I know you could have been watching or listening to a billion other things, and I'm glad you picked this one. Now, 3 things before I leave you. Number 1, if you liked the music you heard today, you should look me up on the music platform you use. There will also be a link in the show notes to help you find me on there. Number 2, if you want to help me make the internet a place for more constructive and nuanced conversations, you can subscribe, like the episode, share it, and leave a comment or review depending on where you're listening to this. And number 3, you can also subscribe to my free Patreon, to my free newsletter Night Sky, and follow me on Instagram or TikTok to understand a bit better the messages behind my songs. Again, everything will be in the show notes. All right, thank you, take care, and keep trying to make sense. Friends come and go, and you came back.